Hello and welcome to the Tatiana Show. It is October 4th, 2016. I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful New Jersey. I'm here at my grandmother's house, as you can tell from the decor, keeping her a little bit of company and also hanging with my people on the Tatiana Show. Josh from Voltoro is joining us today. Last week he wasn't able to make it, but I'm glad you're here today, Josh. We've got some fun guests. How's it going?
Good. Oh man, I just got back from Munich. Bits and Pretzels was this big startup event, and Richard Branson talked, and Kevin Spacey of all people. It was really good. They were good talkers as well. Yeah. And then I gave a talk, but it was right after Richard Branson. So, and of course, everyone's at Richard Branson's, but I was in another stage. So then slowly people trickled in. But anyway, it was a brilliant talk. I thought so. And,
You're a talker or Branson?
Both. Both, of course. No, but the thing was, Branson's, I don't know, a lot of what he was talking about I'd read in his book already. It's like one of his first ones, but he told some great stories about, starting out with and where he came from. It was really good. I got to hang out with Eric Voorhees, and I got to meet so many people from Bitcoin that I just didn't even know existed down that way. Really, really good people, very smart people, beautiful.
Yes. Well, I always find those events to be generally pretty good. Why was Kevin Spacey there? What did he have to do with anything?
Well, I think he invests in a lot of startups, and so he was there doing his thing, and how he talked about how he, managed to sneak someone's number and sneak into an event to get the first audition to something, and that was really good. That was a nice talk.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
We're going to bring on our next guest. Oh, that's. I thought that was called the alcohol, but
no.
Anyway.
This is like just getting over a flu, but it's been 3 years, so that's pretty good.
Very impressive. We're going to be bringing on our first guest today, Kristin Tate. Kristin and I just did an interview. If y'all look at my Twitter feed on Tatiana Coin, you can click on that. And I thought, ladies of Liberty Unite, I'm really excited to have her on. Right before we bring her on, though, I wanted to say thank you to our sponsors and to announce a few different things. Upcoming events include the Latin American Bitcoin Conference. If people can go to Buenos Aires, this is my favorite conference of the year. It's November 4th through 5th. In February, I'll be doing an Acapulco. There's a coupon code Tatiana if you want to save 10% off of your ticket. I'll be in Steam Fest. I know we've got a lot of Steam listeners out there. So I'll be in Amsterdam. I'm going to be doing some performances in London, Berlin, and Warsaw as well in November. All in preparation for the new album. And then I wanted to say thanks to our sponsors, the BitcoinCPA.com and CryptoCompare.com. Bitcoin CPA will make sure you don't go to jail for your taxes and using Bitcoin, and Crypto Compare will tell you which currencies are hot to try. Lots of good information on both those sites, so please make sure that you support them. And of course, freeross.org. If you want to go to their link, they have an Amazon link. So I've been going there and buying all my stuff on Amazon, and that means that I can support the Ross Ulbricht appeal, which is actually happening this week, without spending any money, except for when I'm spending it on myself. So as good little capitalists, let's be selfish and support Ross anyway. And without further ado, we're going to bring on Kristin Tate. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Tatiana.
Very cool. So this is your first time meeting Josh, first time on the Tatiana Show. We broadcast to a lot of different networks. We are, of course, hosted here on Liberty.me, but we're also out on Let's Talk Bitcoin, which we learned together about, and LRN.FM and IPM Nation. So how did you come to Liberty? And give everybody a little bit of intro about, who you are, where you're from, for people who don't know you.
Sure. I'm a contributor to The Hill, and I am also the author of Government Gone Wild, which is kind of a libertarian manifesto book written for millennials, so younger people. My road to liberty was kind of unusual. I grew up in New Hampshire, which is obviously kind of a bastion for libertarian ideas. But my dad was a big neocon, and my mom is like a bleeding heart liberal. So obviously they're divorced. But I disagreed with both of them growing up. I just never really knew where I fit in. And so I was kind of just ambivalent about politics growing up. And then I remember I was at the University of New Hampshire for an event that was being put on, and I happened to see Ron Paul speak there. And I didn't even know who Ron Paul was. I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time. And I listened to him speak, and I just kept thinking, this man makes so much sense. I agree with everything he's saying. So Ron Paul is really who got me into liberty. And, I just started immersing myself into the libertarian world after I heard him speak. And that's really how it got started.
Wow. Okay.
That's Ron Paul. I've got to say,
I'm sorry.
really
I'm having like
as well.
audio issues. So there's a really big disconnect. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Let's edit that out.
Google.
All right. So
that's how I found as well with Ron Paul. He really opened up so many people's eyes, and the man could talk like just with so much heart and so much empathy, but with so much logic and reason as well.
Exactly.
And that was this really beautiful mix, because I'm also, I've gone through from the leftist side growing up, and these sort of people to the right, like knowing people from the right, and just thinking this is all nonsense. And hearing Ron Paul speak, it's like for the first time. And I think so many people got switched on in those 2 elections that he ran.
Absolutely. And I wish that more of our politicians today could learn from Ron Paul, because as you said, he did that so perfectly. He combined, empathy and these ideas of compassion with fiscal responsibility. And I think that's just such a winning combination when you're trying to get young people, especially because conservatives, they're looked at by young people as bigots, and the only way to combat that narrative is with a message like Ron Paul.
Yep.
I'm thinking about this election cycle, and I haven't been very involved because after seeing what happened with the Ron Paul thing, I figured, okay, this is totally rigged. But I do think that there's something to be said for using the political process in order to educate people about the ideas of liberty. And case in point, Ron Paul. Do you think that people, so, Gary is running, right? And there's some dissatisfaction about how he's running his campaign. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that some people don't feel are ideologically consistent with libertarianism, and that he isn't perhaps the best representative. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Gary is inspiring people? Do you think he's winning some of the people on the left? Do you think, what do you think of his approach? And how do you think he's making an impact on a new generation versus somebody like Ron Paul?
I think that Gary Johnson is winning over some people, but not because of Gary Johnson, just because everyone hates Hillary and Trump so much. So to the extent that he's winning people over, I literally think it's just because of the, dislike of the other 2 candidates. I have been very disappointed with Gary Johnson. When you're trying to make liberty appealing to a mass audience, you've really got to know your stuff, and you've got to be inspiring. And I just don't see him as an inspiring person. When he talks, he doesn't get people excited the same way that Ron Paul did. Ron Paul could speak to anybody, any kind of audience, whether it was college kids or senior citizens, and they'd be like out of their seat excited. Gary Johnson's very low energy, and I just don't see that same passion from him. So I kind of think it was a squandered opportunity by the libertarians.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I was surprised because I saw Jeffrey Tucker at Liberty Fest a couple weeks ago, and Gary Johnson had that big event. I don't know if you went to it, but Tucker came back over the moon excited. He said, "Oh my gosh, there were over 2,000 people there, and they were normal. They took showers and everything." And I was a little bit confused by that, because then of course I see Gary get on TV and does his little
Right.
What? I can be inappropriate, everybody can be a little inappropriate sometimes, but he is on national TV. Why is he doing that? Did anyone tell him that was funny? Because it wasn't. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was just weird. And I kind of think at this point he's had 3 strikes, right? Strike 1 was Aleppo. Strike 2 was the tongue thing. And then strike 3 was Chris Matthews asked him to name one foreign leader. He couldn't name one. It just
I
makes
missed that.
libertarians look like a joke. I mean, he could not name one foreign leader. I don't know a lot about foreign policy.
Really?
Even I
Is that
can
for
name
real?
like 3 or 4, at least off the top of my head. So it wasn't
I
good.
think it's the case where some people, when they get put on the spot,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he must know world leaders, but
Right.
you know, and that's the thing. If you can't think on the spot well, while being interviewed, you're out.
Exactly.
3 strikes.
Well, at least he doesn't have a lot more of the blood on his hands than Clinton does. Do you have a horse in the race? Are you voting for anybody? Do you think anybody's good? I think that we've got pretty much really bad candidates.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that I like Trump, and I don't. I just think that he's slightly less bad.
I agree with you completely. I mean, like, if I could wave my magic wand, I would obviously put Gary Johnson in office. I just think he doesn't have that widespread appeal because he's a bad politician and he's bad at messaging. Between Hillary and Trump, I hate both of them, but Trump is the lesser of 2 evils, in my opinion. I mean, Hillary would grow government in nearly every way. She's the antithesis of liberty. Trump is like bad on probably 80% of the issues, but on 20% of the issues, I think he's all right.
I think that's a pretty good breakdown, actually. And, you know, it's very unfortunate because discussing these elections, you know, people get so heated and they get so frustrated with each other. And it's really a competition to the bottom because there's never anything that somebody says, I like Clinton because she's good at this. Well, she's not Trump, you know, and if this is the bottom of the barrel, how do you think that this affects the view of the voting process in the first place? You know, we've had this huge thing that happened with the DNC where he stole the election. Where Hillary stole the nomination from Bernie. That was confirmed. Mm-hmm. Wasserman got a new job. There was absolutely no repercussions whatsoever, except for a few dead people, which nobody ever figured out what happened with them. So why are people supposed to believe in voting? And why do I have to fight with people every time I say I'm not voting? And they can't comprehend that there might be something different. Here we have all these cases that show that this current system is not legitimate. So how do you think people are going to react to that? Like, how do you think this is going to play out? And do you think that people not voting sends a strong enough message?
I mean, I do think we're seeing a lot of discontentment, right? Distrust in the federal government right now is at an all-time high. Millennials are expected to turn out at a really low rate. I mean, they're saying only 15 to 20% of young people are actually going to vote. So that's pretty bad. I mean, a lot of the older folks, the baby boomers, they're probably going to vote, but they're not excited about it. Does it send a strong enough message? I don't think so. I think things are going to have to get really bad before we see any kind of change in Washington. But I do think people are starting to wake up and realize that, I mean, Bernie was kind of right when he said the system is rigged. I mean, that's not something, you know, a leftist or a right kind of statement. That's just the truth at this point. And I think the general public is waking up to that.
Right. Well, what was so disappointing was, you know, with Bernie, he kind of just took it, you know, and people say, oh, well, maybe his life was threatened. It's like, yeah, but this isn't his first rodeo. He knows what the deal is.
Yeah. And then he turns around and endorses Hillary after she basically steals the election.
I think that if I wasn't a Bernie supporter, I like certain aspects of what he's doing from an economics perspective. We couldn't be more different. But that being said, I don't know. I don't understand how his own supporters can go about telling me and others that he's Mr. Principled. I mean, if you want to talk about principles, Ron Paul,
we voted against auditing the Fed.
As he is, just like everybody else. I mean, Ron Paul didn't endorse anybody. He said no. Yeah. And that to me is what principle is. Principle isn't, I'll be principled until it's inconvenient and then I'm just going to toe the party line. He's absolutely supporting the establishment that he's been rallying against. He monetized people's dissatisfaction with that. Yeah. And, you know, and I think that he raised over $220 million for his campaign. I mean, imagine where that $220 million could be used in a more effective way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, Tatiana, in New York City, almost all my friends were Bernie supporters. They were going to all the rallies, like in Brooklyn. He had these huge rallies where like thousands of young people would show up. They are pissed These young people are not going to vote for Hillary, and they're so upset by what you just said. I mean, you were spot on there. Even Bernie's own supporters.
Ron Paul ran this year, he would have really killed. He would have killed it. Ron Paul would have just.
Ron Paul will never win. The elections are not real.
They're rigged.
Yeah.
And if Bernie was really against the system, in my opinion, he never ever would have gotten airtime.
Well, he was never against the system. He's been entrenched in the system for years. This whole thing about him being an outsider is total BS. I mean, he's been in Washington for what? More years than I've probably been alive. So his whole, outsider thing is a total scam to get votes, I think.
I think it's unfortunate, but so now what do we do, right? Okay, so we all think politics sucks, clearly. Right. What are the rumblings, in your community, like the writers and stuff, some of these larger, for Hillary, for example?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually one of the few things I agree with Trump on. I think he's actually totally right when he talks about media bias. It's so blatant. I mean, the media is pretty much at this point working for Hillary. What we can do, I think, as libertarians is try to spread our message as effectively as possible. I think libertarians tend to be purists sometimes, and I've experienced that firsthand. Like, if you don't agree with the libertarian platform 100%, you get closed out of circles, closed out of groups, people get hostile. We can't keep doing that. If we want to spread liberty, we've got to reach out to everyone, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives. We've got to find areas of common ground and then show them why liberty is best.
That's what I noticed when I came to the States. It was so polarized.
Yeah.
It was either you just move around the stations and it was like liberal all the way, or conservative all the way. It just hate Hillary or hate Trump. And it was just this mess. No gray. There was no stations where I could find some gray, where the details sit, where the logic and reason and evidence sits.
Yeah, it's crazy. And libertarians can honestly be just as bad. Like, I have some friends who are really into the party. And, if you're not voting for the libertarian candidate all the time, they will get so upset. They say, oh, you're a fake libertarian. If you don't agree with the party platform on every single little thing, they want nothing to do with you. That's not how we're going to grow liberty. We've got to find areas of agreement, I think. So we got to stop being purists.
Well, do you think that we're actually, falling victim to that? Just before we were saying that Gary Johnson's not libertarian enough. So, I mean, are we doing that? Am I supposed to? I like certain things about Gary. Am I supposed to just support him?
Well, I don't think Gary Johnson not being libertarian enough is his problem. I actually think Gary Johnson's great on, the issues. Gary Johnson's problem, I think, is that he's just a poor communicator and he doesn't have passion and he doesn't get people excited the same way Ron Paul does. Him not being libertarian enough, I don't think is his downfall. It's really all about communication.
Do you think John McAfee would have been better?
No. I think...
Come on, he would have killed it. He's so out of control.
I will say this about McAfee.
He would have been concerned. It would have been popcorn time, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If they want popcorn, we've got our own version. We've got the McAfee special.
Totally.
I feel really sorry for you guys. But you know what? You guys need to feel sorry for us because every time I open Facebook, it's God damn, man, it's those two, and I don't give a shit, man. I honestly, it's any feed, it's like I can't do anything about what you guys. And I feel sorry that you guys, taxpayers, have spent $5 billion to find those two fools.
I know. What is the view of Hillary abroad? Is she generally looked upon positively, or?
Yep.
She is?
Yep. Every startup thing, everyone's like straight away poo-poos Donald Trump and just doesn't say anything about Hillary. And I just keep having to say, hey, Donald Trump's a pretty freaky guy. I wouldn't want him to lead, but look at the other thing as well. Right. The other side is just a nightmare as well. And everyone always seems to choose a side, no matter how bad they taste. Mm-hmm, they have to choose.
But that's kind of part of the brainwash, right? That you have to pick a side. I was sitting with my family at the table the other day, and I was telling them that I think that it's pretty immoral almost to vote. Maybe I would vote if I had nothing else to do, but they were really deeply offended by the idea that I wouldn't vote. Like, but you have to. And I'm like, but why? What difference does it make? And they couldn't get around the idea that I just didn't genuinely think that it would make a difference. Okay, maybe for education purposes, sure. But in a way, by voting, it's like you're acknowledging that you're participating in this system. So
Right.
What's going on with your book? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my book is Government Gone Wild. It's basically trying to take libertarianism and make it appealing to young people. Young people, we all have super short attention spans. It's hard for us to get through a book, let alone an article. So I wrote this book in a way that's very engaging. You know, you can kind of like jump from page to page. You don't have to read it in order. And it's just it's showing young people why libertarianism works for them in a way that's kind of fun. So I really wanted it to be engaging, because you can't really expect a young person who doesn't know anything about libertarianism to like pick up an economics book or even like a Ron Paul book and read a super serious kind of weedy book. I just kind of wanted to present them with the general ideas in a way that's really fun. So I've been really happy with the reception and just trying to get the word of liberty out there to the younger generation.
What do you think about the younger generation? You know, sometimes people complain, they say that they're useless. I would say that their work ethic is questionable. But at the same time, you know, we just did a Free Ross movie screening, and the Students for Liberty, they organized over 140 campuses around the country. So, I mean, you know, some people, I guess, are engaged. Do you think that a majority of the youth are kind of just disconnected Kardashian lovers, or do you think that they do care about the future? Do you think that they're too far gone with the social programming that kind of goes hand in hand with our society?
I mean, I think we just need to show people why they should care. Young people are really disillusioned. They don't trust the federal government. And honestly, politics has become really depressing for a lot of people. So it's easier for millennials and young people to just kind of tune out and be apathetic than it is to actually engage. So people in the media, people writing books, I want to see politics presented in a more engaging, fun way and an uplifting way. We got to show young people why liberty works for them in a way that's really inspiring, instead of just complaining all the time and being depressing. Because I just think a lot of young people are super depressed.
Yeah,
Do you think that politics are the answer though? Or do you think, you know, our next guest, he has a Bitcoin Keep key, you know, that's a really cool little nifty thing to get people off of the banking system. You know, do you think that salvation is going to be found? Or are you trying to take a little bit more of a practical approach, being that we can't exactly abolish the federal government tomorrow? It's not going to become some like anarchist utopia or anything. So, you know, we need to work within the parameters that we have. But do you think that those answers will be found in politics?
No, absolutely not. But I think we need to present the issues to young people and show them we can find solutions to these issues outside of politics as well. But a lot of young people are pretty clueless about very basic issues, including like taxes and just really basic stuff. So they do need to learn about these things. But yeah, no, I agree. The answer is not politics, and we've got to show them that as well.
Interesting.
Students, they don't get to expect being of overwhelming taxes. You know, when they've worked really hard because they're studying, they're usually poor anyway. They haven't experienced that, so they can't empathize with that. And you know, they can, I guess, with their parents firsthand. And it's a lot of the times humans need to experience things to then rally against it.
Yeah. Well, I think bridging the gap is really important. I was with my dad the other day. My father is a business owner. He has an electrical contracting company, and he had all his guys. And some of the guys were black guys, and they're Muslim, and there's like regular guys, whatever, you know, different mix of people. And it was a cool lunch because I got to hear a little bit from their perspective. And I'm very concerned with the accusations that Trump is racist. I don't pay attention to him because I think he's just like, and then I'm just like, whatever, who cares, right? But some of the things that I have heard from him, I think are not that racist, and they're taken out of context. I think some of them seem really wild, but you know, I'm a white girl. What do I know? Maybe it is racist. Maybe I can't tell. I also don't really think that just because you're white, you're automatically racist. That like weird tension that's really being built up in this country. But what was sort of encouraging was appealing to them from different perspectives and kind of showing, some of the more economics based things that I liked from somebody who is not so pro big government. I mean, some might argue that Trump is pro big government, but arguably he's lesser than the
Right.
two. So, relating it back to them in a business way was really important. I'm not only sure that people have an idea about how difficult it is to be a small business owner and just how much the government interferes with anybody's ability of creating for themselves a business, because you have to comply this way, you have to comply that way. Bitcoin companies a lot of them won't even work in New York. They won't even sell in New York because of BitLicense, which was written by a guy who, as soon as he was done writing BitLicense, started a consultancy about how to get around BitLicense. It was completely bonkers.
Oh my God. Such a scam.
Yeah. So I wish that people would kind of see how those scams and those protections are put into place to actually stifle the little guy.
Absolutely. And I think a part of the problem is also this liberal mentality of like success and money. That's evil. That's greedy. We have adopted this view, it seems, where success is almost looked down upon. I think that's I think that's very dangerous. And I think a lot of young people, because of that view, think that, oh, if you're a business owner, you're greedy. Money's bad. That's evil. We all need to be equal. Well, no, we don't all need to be equal. We should reward people who have worked hard to create jobs, and that's a wonderful thing. So I do think a lot of these socialist mentalities of, success is greed, I think that's really harmful.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that giving them kind of real world examples, and I mean, you can't really argue with incentives, right? They were saying, oh, Trump wants to, give tax breaks for the rich. Well, one of the guys at the table said that 90%, don't quote me on these figures, but 90% of the tax base comes from the top 1%. So most of the money that's coming into this country for taxes is actually coming from wealthy people.
Right.
And what I was thinking was, well, if we have one of the highest corporate tax rates in the world, why would a business want to set up shop here? And then I think when you relate it back to that and people start thinking about it, they don't just think, well, they have to pay higher taxes. Well, actually, they don't. They can just leave.
Right, exactly.
Less jobs. So everybody needs to stop complaining about the big guys, because they're not every, corporation is made out of evil people,
Right.
And I think a lot of times those people think that they're trying to do something good. A lot of times, what is it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I think a greater understanding of economics is really like the missing link with a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. And as John Stossel always says, greed is good. It almost doesn't matter what people's intentions are. As long as they're creating jobs and keeping the economy moving forward, we always want as many business people in this country as we can possibly get. And when we disincentivize them from coming here, it hurts everyone. Like you mentioned, the workers, the unemployment rate goes up, cost of living goes up because we don't have as many varieties of goods to choose from. So the incentive almost doesn't even matter. If they want to come here and be greedy by making money, that's great for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that I find is that the machines and AI are coming as well. They're coming and they're just destroying jobs. Just coming and doing it. And there's no regulation around something like that, but there's all these regulations about employing humans, and humans are already at a disadvantage to machines. So if we keep on regulating the employment of humans or to create jobs, like at the end of the day, we're going to have to think of different economic structures altogether, because
well, what can you do, guys? I guess you could pick up Kristin's book. That would be one place to start.
Government Gone Wild.
Yeah, where can people catch up with you? You've got your podcast, you've got your writing and stuff. So tell people where they can catch up and find out more about you.
Yeah, my website is thelibertarianchick.com. I have everything there. And then my book, Government Gone Wild, you can get in bookstores like Barnes & Noble or online on Amazon. So, and on Twitter, I'm Kristin B. Tate.
Excellent. All right, cool. Well, Kristin, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll have to have you on again. And when I get back into town, we're definitely going out. I just found out Kristin and I are both in New York and we haven't even hung out. So
I know, crazy. I had no idea you were there. So
yes. Well, now I've got a buddy to go to to go to all the libertarian events, which
Definitely.
I will say have had a lot more women lately. I like it. A lot of
Very cool.
nice ladies, smart babes to lure in the dudes, grow the movement. And to also offer, a little bit of a different perspective. I think, all jokes aside, I love having a really diverse crowd when talking about liberty, because it's not just for political people. It really affects a lot of different people in different ways. So thanks very much for joining us.
Totally.
All right. See you later, Kristin. So our next guest is Doug Miller from KeepKey. What can I say about
company.
Doug? First of all, forget KeepKey. Yeah, their stuff is great, blah, blah, blah. But what I love about KeepKey the most is Doug Miller, because he's such a wonderful person. And sometimes when you deal with people in crypto, it's a mixed bag. You don't always get the best people. But KeepKey really hit the jackpot when they brought Doug onto the team. We've been working together for about a year now. And it's always such a pleasure to speak with him. So, Doug, thank you for joining us today, coming to us from Seattle. Doug Miller, ladies and gentlemen.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Great. So you weren't always in Bitcoin. You have a little bit more of a regular background. I guess not all of us we weren't all born in Bitcoin, but tell me a little bit about your background and then how you came into this weird little crypto space that we're all in.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know what Bitcoin was. I had no idea. I was actually always in sales. Going my background, it's always been sales, business development, partnerships. I love people's stories. That's something I found as being getting into sales. I said, best thing I love is just open to everybody. I love everybody. Hearing about the politics, it's a little different for me because I just love everybody. Unless you're a jerk, then it's a little different. But it's I got into that enterprise sales. I've done mergers, acquisitions, and where I really started learning a little bit different was we used to teach self-directed IRAs and 401ks. So after ERISA was passed in 1974, I learned you could invest in anything outside of stocks, bonds, mutual funds. That really set me on my path to go, man, there are other things out there. So taught people how to do loans, deeds, notes, hard money lending, real estate, holding all that stuff in a traditional vehicle. And
what about arts and cars and the classic cars and stuff?
No collectibles, man. ERISA, you got to read the ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. I learned that a lot and just learned what you could do. And that intrigued me because I always saw these guys with, a lot of zeros in their IRAs and 401ks, and it was really intriguing. And that really got me on my path. And long story short, I sold enterprise software solutions, SaaS solutions for Fortune 100 companies. I've been pretty fortunate in what I've got to see in the contacts. So long story short, it gets us to where we are today. I was doing recruiting for a company, and I was the business development part. And I saw a Craigslist ad. And it said this small company in Seattle was looking for a cryptography engineer. And of course, I couldn't even spell cryptography in the day. So I said, I'm going to call this guy up, and of course I can get you a cryptography engineer. So lo and behold, that was Darren, the founder of KeepKey. And it all started from there. I looked at cryptography and I said, what is cryptography? Because of course I had to know what it was. And did my due diligence, looked at it, and found this thing called Bitcoin. And it intrigued me. I said, Bitcoin, of course, what's the first thing you think of? It's total scam.
Everybody thinks that. This is scam.
Absolutely. And then I'm waiting. I'm like, all right, who's going to want me to come to their house?
You've got to take a closer look at the rabbit hole, right? You got to take a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to look at it. Absolutely.
And then you fall down it.
Yeah. And I totally fell. I fell, and I don't think I've ever stopped. It just keeps going and going. It's a deep hole. But I got into it, and I started looking at it, and then I said, man, who's going to invite me over to their house for like an MLM gig? I know somebody's going to do it. And just started looking closer and started reading a book. And actually the first thing that hit me was I saw Andreas talk. And
he's the gateway drug to Bitcoin.
Totally. That guy, if I see him, I'm either going to have to shake his hand or buy him a drink. I don't know yet. So I actually saw something. And something that really resonated with me was just the the first thing he said that really made sense to me, because I'm going cryptography, algorithms, rolling dice, getting a number, mining, like it still made no sense to me. But he said Bitcoin's better experienced than explained. And that was the first thing that hit me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go experience it. And I think I did probably what 80% of the non-techie people did. I went to Coinbase, set up an account, and I went to Overstock. I bought a pair of sheets. And the sheets were cheaper than what I originally spent. And I'm going, I made money about sheets. How cool is this?
That's so funny, because I remember some report came out saying, what do Bitcoiners spend most of their money on? And the most bought thing was bed sheets and beds or mattresses or something, bed orientated stuff on Overstock.
Yeah, so it's funny because
so you're part of that beautiful statistic.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because it's like the one thing you don't really think about buying all the time, but it's the coolest thing because you spend, half your life in bed, so you might as well be comfortable.
Yeah, with Bitcoin, bought with Bitcoin.
I got my Bitcoin.
It doesn't get more comfortable than that.
Bitcoin bedding.
So yeah, I did that, and then I experienced it, and then I heard about. I wasn't part of all the scams, right? I mean, the Mt. Gox. I read about it, and I still, saw some of the people, and I'm just going, it's that greed factor. And I said, it's just. I was never a part of it, but it's always that thing. If people are warning you, then don't do it. Don't keep it on a third party. I started researching exchanges, and I think like anybody getting into Bitcoin or anybody doing cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, whatever your gig is, whatever you like, do your due diligence. Just
the funny thing was, I was warning everyone to get out. My brother and everyone that I knew had it, except for myself. I somehow didn't pull my own. I was just like an idiot. What the hell?
Yeah, but you live and learn, and I just did that, and I think staying on the cautious side of just how can I be the most secure and the most safe, and then meeting the founder, Darren. Number one, security is number one. Within the device, but as far as a company, number one is the customers. Like, people are scared to get in. If you can be that kind of safety net for them and informative, get back to them in a timely manner, I think that's what's built the success of anything we've done. We're not IT minded only, we're customer service minded, and that's where it really brought us to the next level.
I agree with that. I think a lot of Bitcoin companies, they don't understand how important customer service is and being available, especially with the new technology. I have Coinbase and I suffer through it. And there are some aspects of that service that I like. But if I have a problem and I can't sell my Bitcoins, good luck trying to talk to somebody over there. You can't. There's nothing in real time that can be helped. And you guys probably don't need somebody on the line all the time to answer people's questions because it's a little bit of a different product. But nonetheless, there's, a phone number you can call, and there's humans that work at KeepKey. I don't know any humans that work at Coinbase. I only know machines, and I don't like them. So, it's good to have one voice on the phone sometimes.
Absolutely. And it would amaze you. I mean, if you saw behind the scenes of how KeepKey works, I mean, the thing that keeps us up at night is just when someone has a problem. And we have Slack, we have customer service, we have like a tiered tree. We're all in it to make sure that if anybody, because I mean, just think about somebody in Europe or somebody in Singapore or somebody around the world, they're sitting there trying to do a transaction. They have no idea what's going on. That's what keeps us up at night. I think having that attitude will always put us in the forefront where we do care about the customer.
The thing is that, humanity has had thousands of years of understanding physical security, of understanding safes and vaults and armored vehicles and all the rest of it. But digital security, although important for the big players, the users, since the internet, haven't really needed to look after digital assets that much. A sort of computer did a half-assed job. But now that we've got digital money, it changes the whole game. For the first time, we really need solid, easy to use for the dumbest of dumb person, because you just want to have everybody involved. And I'm not saying dumb in a bad way. Just some people haven't got their heads around a certain aspect of digital life. And so what you guys are doing is really, really important, and not only for Bitcoin. I think moving forward, lots of digital assets that are backing certain things, and all these tokens that are coming. And what you guys are doing I think it's really important.
Thanks. Yeah, and I I agree. I agree 100% on what you said. And if I can kind of paint a picture, this is kind of, if you're pulling back on what KeepKeys do. I can't give away a lot of stuff because we have a really good platform we're building. But if you really look at it, I always framed like it's a baseball diamond. And in the middle of that baseball diamond, you have your vault, your KeepKey. For us, it's the foundation of everything. And then if you have your desktop solution, your wallet, or you have a mobile solution, you have a payment solution, and you have an exchange where you can easily exchange cryptocurrencies. And with the Shapeshift integration we have, with a push of a button, you can go from Bitcoin to Litecoin to Dogecoin, and more cryptos being added. But it really gives you that full, kind of like your own banking system, your own decentralized banking system. You got your vault, your wallet, your payment solution, and how you can trade. And that's how simple we want to make it. Yet it takes a lot of work on the back end and a lot of good partnerships with a lot of good companies that are out there right now.
Can you walk me through, say I'm completely new to Bitcoin. Why do I need a KeepKey? What is a KeepKey? And why don't I just get an online thing? Like, explain to me the difference between them.
So to keep it real, like the 101 version, why we have
real
a KeepKey.
Simple, yes.
Keep it
Absolutely.
real, man.
So, yeah, I won't get we'll keep it real. So I won't get into like the private keys, public key, all that stuff. Really what it is, if you want to buy digital currencies, you want to get into Bitcoin, you have to go to an exchange. Or now they have Bitcoin ATMs. Wherever you want to go and get Bitcoin. When you do that, you have to set up some sort of wallet. And a lot of times when you buy from like Coinbase or whatever else, it's a third party that holds your money. Okay, so what you do with a KeepKey is offline, meaning that it's not powered ever. It's only powered by USB, and you plug it in. So think of it like your vault. It's like going to the bank, and when you buy your currency, you hold it on your wallet. So you buy Bitcoin, put it on whatever wallet. I do a lot of times. I go to ATMs, the Bitcoin ATM near our house, and I'll get my money. I'll pop it in. All I have to do is scan my driver's license, and I have to send that money to a wallet of some sort. So I use CoinMe Wallet with the ATMs, and basically what that does is goes onto my phone, and then what I automatically do is I send the Bitcoin from my wallet, because think about it, it's on my phone, it's on a mobile device. Mobile devices can be hacked. Third-party exchanges can be hacked. The thing about putting on a KeepKey, it's like your vault. It literally is offline so that people cannot attack and they cannot steal your Bitcoin. So you put the money onto your Bitcoin wallet, KeepKey, and that's where you have it in your vault. When you want to spend it, you can send whatever amounts you want off of your KeepKey, you plug it in, or we even have the cool thing with Mycelium where you just put an on-the-go cable or an OTG cable into your cell phone, and you can basically just, without touching your computer, you take the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency off of your KeepKey, put it on your phone, and then you can spend it from there. And there's different ways you can do that too, but that's how simple it is. It's an offline device to protect your Bitcoin.
Do you have some sort of statistics on what sort of users you're getting? Are you getting people that are just holding, or people that are using it for a wallet like that with Mycelium? Is there different, what sort of customers are you seeing?
I'll guesstimate this just from the calls we get, but it really is people are buying and holding it. And because the thing that I get into is that it's really hard still. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to buy Bitcoin and spend Bitcoin, and what do you do with it, and who takes it? And that's the part that is changing. It's changing on a consumer level, it's changing on a business level, and it's changing on an enterprise level. And if I could show you some of the cool things, we're keeping it for our good PR launches, but I was down in San Francisco just last weekend, and we were going around anywhere Apple Pay was, we were spending Bitcoin. And it was on my mobile device. We were sending Bitcoins back. It's the coolest thing ever. So basically, I just have my KeepKey, never take it, download as much as I want. And all the companies that are out there. It's just, I'd love to give a shout out to all these companies we're working with, but it's more, they're making it more simple to spend Bitcoin, and then keeping it offline in your KeepKey. It's incredible what's going on right now.
I have a couple more questions about that. So where is the Bitcoin generated? The Bitcoin address that's on your KeepKey, where does that come from? Outer space? Because if it's never connected to the internet, then where did it come from?
So that gets more technical than I know. I can't even answer the question.
Okay, so but it has its own it has its own little Bitcoin address with the keep key. And then if you get your money and let's say I put it in Coinbase, I'm like, I don't want to keep it in here. I send it over to my keep key device because that's got its own separate address. So it's just how I would do a regular old Bitcoin transaction, right?
Absolutely. It's the private key that's generated on your device when you initialize the device that never leaves the keep key. So basically what you do is in the blockchain here.
What happens if I lose that private key?
You actually don't even need the keep key at that point. When you initialize the device, there's a 12-word recovery code. As long as you know that, that's the thing that we always tell everybody, keep that away, because that, if people have that, they can get to into your device. So you want to keep your 12-word code. That's the thing. A lot of people memorize it. A lot of people will keep it in, that's the card that you keep in the storage.
So if I lose my device, then it's safe because I could just tell you guys, hey, I lost my device. Here's my 12-letter code. Send me another one, right?
Yeah, reinitialize it. And then you've still got on top of that, you've got the two-factor authentication where you have to physically have the device the 12 words. You have to physically have the device, and then you have to know the 4-digit PIN code as well. So added security layer, but if you do lose the device, as long as you know your 12 words, you can pull it up from anywhere.
And is there only one address associated with that device?
You can have multiple, but it takes just your private key on there. But we're working on a way where you can have multiple. It doesn't work yet, but yeah, it's one key per code where you can have multiple down the road.
How do you think the Cube Key is different from the other wallets? I think the other companies are cool. Ledger guys, they're nice. The Trezor guys are nice. I mean, these people are all doing something. What makes Cube Key different? And why would somebody want a Cube Key over a different kind of device?
I'll give you my opinion, but I agree. I like all the companies out there. The Ledger guys are great. Trezor guys, I've never really met the Trezor guys. But I think I don't know. I look at it as simple as like a cheeseburger, right? It's like, some people like bacon on their cheeseburgers. Somebody like double stacks. Some people want 4 of them.
I got to say, the Keep Key is absolutely gorgeous. Like, that's what I like about it. It's just beautifully designed. It's really like something out of 2001 Space Odyssey, sort of standard Kubrick style. Just this little brick with this beautiful monochrome screen. I really like. I really like it. It's a nice design form.
Yeah, that's the big thing is when I saw the differences. Being outside before I even got into Bitcoin, when I was looking at, because of course I'm doing my due diligence on the company as well, but it was just beautiful. And it was designed, actually the designers, Darren took enough time. He basically looked at what he wanted, and Darren's very meticulous. He likes detail. I mean, detail. And he went to the guys that actually designed the Xbox controller. And he went to the design firm and said, I want this, this, and this, and I want it to be beautiful. And I always tell everybody, I go, it's kind of like designed by the creation studio that designed the Xbox, but also like an Aston Martin feel. So we came with a premium quality design, and then also the screen. I mean, looking at the screen, I got to tell you, every time I do a transaction, I'm scared to death. I want to make sure I got that cut and pasted. I want to make sure I verify it. I don't know, maybe I'm just ultra secure and kind of worried about that, but I want to be able to see it, and being able to see it compared to other ones that I've seen, that's one that, and then also the features and being business minded more than just IT minded. We always think of what is the problem we're trying to solve instead of just adding on a different feature and more buttons and a screen and a flip. Instead of doing all that stuff, we came out with the best design for the best problems that we find in the industry.
Nice. Oh, Tatiana's on the mutes.
Another thing that I really like about KeepKey is its support of the Bitcoin ecosystem. I'm a good friend of Connie Galippi at BitGive. I have a lot of respect for their work over there. They have a great transparency project. We'll be talking about that when I see Connie. But one of the great things when I was talking with Doug was his interest in KeepKey supporting BitGive. And, there's a lot of companies in Bitcoin that give a lot of lip service and they say, oh, BitGive, you're so great. Here's the $1. Enjoy. It's ridiculous. But you guys are like platinum members or some sort of, you guys are full on supporters of BitGive. And I wanted to recognize that because I think it's really important. A lot of times in the crypto space, people are so concerned with integrating with the banking sector, which it makes sense. Everybody's got to make money. But what we lose track of is the importance of Bitcoin in charities and how it can improve giving around the world through transparency, through saving fees, through instant transfers of payments. That those seconds really count in an emergency situation. What have you guys? How long have you guys been helping with BitGive? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, the story behind that is I just heard so many negative things about Bitcoin and about cryptocurrencies, and you hear about all the negative, but I would urge everyone out there that's listening or anything, go to bitgivefoundation.org and see what are some of the cool projects being done, and be it, from a philanthropical or philanthropy kind of standpoint, it's very cool. Basically all it is you get to give money back, because we're big on that. We help as many people as we can doing good. BitGive, hands down, the best to do anything with. And if you go there, you can see the Transparency Project. And what it is you actually get to see your money spent for a good cause, where it goes to, what it was used for. Like it says, it's total transparency. And coolest part is you get to use Bitcoin. So we're 100% behind those.
Yeah. That was actually the second biggest thing that people spent Bitcoin on was donating to charities. So the first was bed sheets and the second was charities.
I'm full in. I'm full in. Giving and cheats. Yeah. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, right there.
But no, that and just, you hear about all the bad. I love hearing the good. What good people are doing. Companies out there doing phenomenal things in this space, even from an enterprise level to a business level to a consumer level. Again, it's just, there are some cool things going on. It's the Wild West.
So beautiful. It takes down so many barriers. Me and Tatiana and I have really had the pleasure of interviewing some great people in that space, and I always get blown away by the goodness in so many people and the amount of donations that people get for the greatest projects. So it always, you always hear about, humans, you can never have less government because humans are so bad. But, the great stories that I hear of charitable people is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think if everybody can just focus on what can you do good on it, bad people are going to do bad things with cash. Bad people do things with my credit card, for crying out loud. My wife's going through a year and a half of fraud on her credit card. I mean, talk about how horrible it is. Bad people can do bad things, but I think it's good. We got good credit people, but it's just that whole thing. It's focus on what's good, focus on what's going to drive this, focus on what's going to make it better. And I think we'll get a long way in this industry.
Yep.
So what's new? What can we look forward to with KeepKey? We're coming up on the hour, so we're gonna be tidying up. But where are you guys gonna be? Where can people engage? What's happening? Where can people find you?
If you want to find out more, keepkey.com. It's pretty simple, and we're up to 14 resellers worldwide currently. So lots of our partners on our reseller page, but what to look for is, it's going to be exciting. 2017, we've got a really good platform, and our simple goal, the problem we're trying to solve, is how to make Bitcoin easy for the consumer, and how do we actually have a proof of concept for the enterprise. Those two things, can't give away the secrets, but very cool things and very cool partnerships happen in 2017 for us.
Very cool. So Doug, we're broadcasting on a number of different stations, including Liberty.me, IPM Nation, LRN.FM, and of course, Let's Talk Bitcoin. And on the LTB network, we have a thing called the magic word or the magic phrase. And I like to let the guests choose. Do you want to pick one? It can't be, it could be Doug Miller is the best. I would approve of that one, but otherwise, no promotional messages.
No just spur of the moment magic word?
Yeah, magic word. Maybe like something for people to keep in mind, like peace, something. I don't know.
Crypto, get it or you're gone.
Crypto, get it or you're gone. I like that. How have the institutional clients, some of your old buddies from before, are they excited about Bitcoin, or are they kind of weirded out? And do you have to only say the word blockchain to them, or they turn into ashes and stone? It's like catch fire and say,
Yeah, I always I say Bitcoin and blockchain, it's like love and marriage. You can't have one without the other. So if you're going to talk to me, you got to understand Bitcoin. You got to know about blockchain.
Yeah.
I got to say this, the biggest thing I've seen is there's a lot of guys with fancy scarves and a good blazer and jeans on that come around saying they've got something for the enterprise. I didn't want to do that. So we're actually coming with some proof of concepts that we're working with some very large Fortune 100 companies. And we're coming up with solutions and some sandbox and proof of concepts. They're a little more open to it, but as soon as they understand how the Bitcoin and blockchain communities work together, they're going to be a lot farther down the road. So that's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I have a
proof-of-work
couple
community.
ideas about the directions, and I'm very, very excited. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting 2017. I was hoping this would be the year that Bitcoin went to the moon because I could really, use a little boost. But next year, that's going to be the magic one, I think. And I think that you guys are offering a really great service. Where can people get their own Keep Key?
Go to keepkey.com, or we sell all on Amazon and Amazon Prime. So you can go all around the world, go onto Amazon, you can order one there, or you want to buy with Bitcoin, you can buy at Bitcoin at keepkey.com as well.
Excellent.
Can you get a drone to deliver you one from Amazon?
No drones. We don't.
We don't trust drones yet. We don't trust drones.
I don't know why everybody's so excited about drones. I'm like, these seem like a very bad idea. I don't know.
Very noisy. They're very noisy.
Well, not even noisy. They're a little nosy is the problem. They're, very, very interested in what's going on in my backyard. Get out of my backyard. I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, joining Josh. Kristin was awesome. Doug is always cool. And next week, I'm going to be on the Contra Krugman cruise. I'll do a special episode with Stephanie Murphy, who's going on the cruise with me, and we'll get some good content, and we'll be back the following week.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Remember to support freeross.org. Get your Amazon goods there. You can even get your Keep Key there, and give a donation to the Ross Ulbricht appeal, which is going on this week. Go to TatianaMoroz.com and see the links in the show notes. Please support our sponsors, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.